So I want you to go and take a moment, imagine this, and tell me if you can relate. You're ending your workday, and honestly, yeah, you got a lot done. You felt busy. But as you're wrapping the day up, feeling busy, you're not even really sure if you were productive today. Like, you know you did a lot, but you're not sure any of what you did is really going to move the needle forward today. And then here you are, later in the day, going to bed, and you cannot get your mind to shut off. You're mentally replaying the day, going through everything you did or did not do, and you're wired but tired, or tired and wired, one or the other, right? And you just want to rest, but your brain will not let you. So you're lying there telling yourself, like, God, man, I need to be more disciplined. If I just had a better system, I was better at managing my time, and if I did my routine, my morning routine more, this feeling would finally just go away. It won't. And newsflash, it has nothing to do with your work ethic or you working hard enough. You're actually trying to solve the wrong problem. And here's what I mean. When most people feel like this, they just automatically call it a time problem. It has to be the time, right? But if you actually follow that all the way down, a time problem is really a priority problem. And a priority problem is really a focus and attention problem. And that focus and attention problem, that's actually a decision-making problem, which is really just a clarity problem. We just keep renaming the same problem, and none of those names get us any closer to fixing the actual problem that is underneath it all. And look, I get it. Because when you feel behind, when you feel like you're not doing enough, when you feel like the day just got away from you, the natural instinct is going to be to look for something to fix or grab onto anything that will at least give you a sense of control. And that's where you turn towards, well, the better time management system. I need to install this new system or process in my business. I need to do my morning routine more consistently. Or, whatever the next cool productivity hack that everybody's doing right now. Something external that you can point to and say, well, that's the problem. I just need to fix that. But here's what I do not hear or see anybody talking about at all. Time isn't actually the problem. And I want you to think about it this way. Every single day you wake up, you have the same amount of time. Nothing ever changes on that front. You get 24 hours a day, every single day. And right now, you have this moment right here that is right in front of you. And when this moment passes, guess what? You have another one. When the hour that you're in passes, you get another hour. And the same thing then goes on to apply to days, weeks, months, years, everything. Time is literally always there. It's always right here. So if time isn't actually the problem, then what is? What you're actually dealing with is where your focus and attention is going, what you're giving it to, because time is just the gateway. It is the placeholder for your focus and attention. What really matters is what you're putting your attention on inside of the time that you have and that you're using. And when you don't have clarity on that, when you're not clear on what you're actually working toward, meaning a goal, what actually moves the needle versus what just keeps you busy, you are going to end every single day feeling like you did not do that much or move anything forward. And that feeling that you experience, again, has nothing to do with how you're managing your time. That's not the problem. Fundamentally, it is a clarity problem, which is really a decision-making problem. And underneath all of that, it turns itself into a pressure problem. Because here's what's really happening. There's this internal pressure dial. And for most business owners who fall into the high performer category, that dial is just on, and it's on all the time. And when that dial is just turned up, everything feels urgent. Everything feels like it is so important, and everything is going to feel like it is the priority. And when everything is a priority, nothing is. So you are just going to stay busy. You're always going to be in motion, but you're not actually sure what you're doing that is actually moving things forward. And even if you are, it's most likely going to be in the completely wrong direction. And the harder that you just continue to push without feeling like you're making progress, the more that dial is just going to continue to turn itself up. So right now, I actually want you to take a moment and picture something. Like visualize this in your head. And you've probably seen a scene like this play out in a movie or a story. And you see this person, right? They're out in the desert, they're dehydrated, they're on the point of delirium, and they're desperate. But they look up, and out on the horizon, they can see water. So they start running, they get excited, they're working hard to get there, and they get there just to find out the water's not even there. And they look out and they see it's just moved further out into the horizon. That right there is not a motivation or a discipline problem. That's the paradox of always measuring where you are compared to where you want to be. Because guess what? No matter how far you have moved forward, the progress that you've made, the gap is always going to look exactly the same. You hit the goalpost moves. You hit that one, guess what? It moves out again. And instead of feeling progress, all you continue to feel is the distance between you and the next goal. And that's where that internal pressure dial just turns up, and it just stays up. Because no matter what you accomplish, there's always going to be that next big thing, the next level of yourself, the next version of what enough is that you have not reached yet. So again, you end the day feeling like it wasn't enough. Then you wake up the next day and you wake up feeling already behind. And somewhere in the back of your mind, you're thinking like, geez, I really feel like I should be further along by now. I should be doing more. Why can't I just get dialed in? And the most frustrating part of all of that is you're already working hard, harder than most other people are capable of or want to do. They don't have the desire to work as hard as you. So you really don't have a problem when it comes to your discipline or your willpower. And you're definitely not lazy, even though that you think you are and you try to convince yourself that you're lazy. If anything, you're working later and around the clock just to prove that to yourself. But that in and of itself doesn't fix that anxious feeling that just lives in your chest and hits you right here in the middle of your chest. Because the feeling that you feel isn't coming from your output or what you are or aren't doing. It's coming from how you're measuring it. And I know because I lived it. Going back to 2020, when I started my business, I genuinely believed that that was going to fix everything. I was burnt out. I was very unfulfilled, even though I had checked all the boxes in life up until that point. Graduated high school, college degree, found the girl, we got engaged, we bought the house, we got married, we were expecting our first kid. I felt like I was still just going through the motions and living the same day over and over and over again. And I honestly thought, like, if I just had more control over my time, if I actually decided my schedule, if I had more purpose and meaning in what I was doing, well, of course, that would finally be the answer, right? So my solution and my answer was to start my business. And what I actually did was recreate every single problem that I already had, except now everything was 10 times bigger. Because when you start a business, everything that you are already struggling with just gets magnified. Every pattern you were already running, it gets put on loudspeaker. And even during the best financial months that I had early on, like some really good months in the beginning of my business, I still felt like a mess. I still couldn't shut my mind off. It felt like I was drinking from a fire hose. I was still getting pulled in a million different directions. I was waking up feeling behind every single day and not finding any joy in life. And that's when I realized it had nothing to do with the job. It was never my schedule. It was never any other thing that I could grasp on as the issue. It was the pattern that I was running internally that was just deeply ingrained in me over and over and over again. And no change that I could create on the outside was ever going to fix something that was living inside of me. The problem I thought I had was not the real problem. And that's exactly what I want to show you today. Okay, so if it's not a time problem, a productivity problem, or even a discipline problem, then what is it actually? And here's what it is. And to be fully transparent, I didn't come up with this. I adopted this from Dan Sullivan and Dr. Benjamin Hardy. And it's called the gap versus the gain. And in my opinion, this is the best and the most simple framework for when it comes to mindset and really understanding why people who are high performers feel like they are never doing enough. Here's how it works. Right? You have gap thinking. And gap thinking is when you are always measuring where you are against where you want to be. And where you want to be is always out here. The goal is always out here on the horizon. You're constantly looking at that, looking at the distance between where you are here and there. And no matter how far you move, the gap is always going to look the same because you're always measuring the thing you haven't achieved yet. And honestly, that gap is where all the pressure lives. That is where that internal pressure dial just turns up and it doesn't ever come back down. Because when you're in the gap, you're never enough. You are never measuring up. And what you've done is never enough. Where you are is never enough. The horizon just keeps moving further and further out into the distance. So shifting to thinking from the gap to the gain, this is where all the magic happens. And instead of measuring forward against where you want to be, you take where you are and you measure backwards from where you started. You actually look at how far you've come, what you've actually built, what you've been able to do that you couldn't do before. And I want to be clear. This has nothing to do with lowering your standards, and it isn't about letting go of goals or not chasing big goals. Guys, keep the goals. Pursue big aspirations because goals do matter. And, in a lot of ways they are necessary. But the habit of measuring yourself against where you're not yet, that's what's generating all this pressure that you feel inside of you. That is what is keeping that dial turned up. When you shift it and you start measuring backwards, something really does begin to shift. And it's not just this mental shift, but physically as well, because that pressure starts to come down. You start to actually feel like the progress you are actually making is real. And when you feel that progress, you show up differently. You make clearer decisions. You move with more energy because there's this sense of motivation and satisfaction from what you are doing and what you're getting done. You stop grinding your way through every single day just to feel like you did enough. So when you actually put this into practice, here's what it looks like. When you get to the end of your day, before you close your laptop, and before you start trying to mentally replay everything that didn't get done, I just want you to stop and ask yourself one question. What did I do today that actually moved the needle forward? What did I do today that moved the business forward? And it's not about what's left, not what's still on your to-do list, but what actually happened today? What did you do? It doesn't have to be big, but it does need to carry some weight and really what I would say is leverage to actually have moved the needle forward today. Because here's the thing. When it comes down to it, confidence isn't something that just magically shows up in the future because you want it. And it surely doesn't come from motivating or hyping yourself up, chanting the affirmations of, I am confident. Or even dare I say, some of you guys using that demeaning internal self-dialogue to motivate yourself and be more confident to do things. Confidence comes from proof. And you already have the proof. You've already done hard things. You've already figured things out that you didn't know how to figure out before. You've already built things that have meaning and purpose tied to them. You just haven't been measuring it. And when you start measuring things backwards, consistently, that is the most important part. Doing this consistently as a daily practice. That internal pressure that you feel that lives in your chest here, it starts to come down on its own. And it turns down because you're finally seeing what you're doing. And not just seeing it, but you're acknowledging it and giving yourself credit for it. Reach over and just give yourself a pat on the back. Because the goal of all this has less to do with you not caring about where you're going anymore. It comes down to you just stopping letting where you're going make you feel like what you are doing is not enough. You stop always trying to be there when you are here. Because everything you're doing and accomplishing is enough. You are further along than you really give yourself credit for. And the version of you that can actually keep going, be consistent, stay clear, make good decisions under pressure. That version shows up when that pressure dial comes down, not when it goes up. If you're ending your days constantly feeling like it wasn't enough, like you didn't do enough and you should be doing one more thing, it's not because you're not working hard enough. Like, take that pressure off yourself. It's just that you've been measuring yourself against a moving target this whole time and calling it a productivity problem or a time problem. It's not. And I want you to be free of that. It's a thinking problem because you are thinking in the gap. You're creating a gap. And now you know that. You can't unsee it and you know what to do with it. Start measuring backwards. Even just for the next 7 days, answer that one question at the end of your day and see what shifts and what changes for you. So if this video hit something for you, if this is the kind of content that actually helps you, go ahead, and I'd love and appreciate for you to like this video and subscribe to the channel. I put a new video like this out every single week because I genuinely believe the right business owners need to hear this and see this. And the more that you engage with it, the more YouTube and the algorithm gods put this in front of the people who need it most. So on that note, thank you for being here, and I'll see you on the next video.